Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about One Piece chapter 1007, and oh my gosh, what is going on? Holy crap moly is really all I can say about this. I'm not really sure what to make of this, man. Like honestly, like this whole situation at the end is just like, oh my gosh. I really hope this is the lurking legend, but yeah, man, holy crap. So this video we're going to be talking about just the situation in One Piece chapter 1007. It's going to be mostly focused on theory crafting, maybe a little bit of the chapter analysis, because there are a few like interesting choices here. But I'm really just curious about that, right? Like that guy. Wow. What does that even mean? What is going on here? What is this? Um, yeah, okay, but that's gonna be like my primary focus in this particular situation. So I just want to give some quick background here, just so you understand where I'm coming from. I do not like making theories for One Piece. Like the best theory I've had so far was Luffy being the guy to punch, or Luffy having a punch in chapter 1000. But that wasn't really a theory based on the story. That was a theory based on Oda. Everything else gets a lot harder. Do you guys remember that one time during Whole Cake Island towards the end when it looked like the Straw Hats got blown up by Big Mom? Now, I don't remember everything, but my theory at that time was that they had not been blown up by Big Mom, and instead it was Nami using Mirage Tempo. That's how I thought they had gotten away. But then you had Oda coming in there, and he revealed, no, you foolish human. It is not Nami using her God-given talents and ability in a clutch moment to show that she is worthwhile, and using Mirage Tempo to make a fake Sunny that looked like it got destroyed. No, no, no. That was not what it was. No, instead, it was the giant sea giant who had plucked these Straw Hats out of the way in a split second and shoved them in his mouth and then released them later. That was how they survived that particular incident. And it's like, okay, how foolish of me. And so, you know, when you have that kind of thing in the background, it's like, I don't really, I don't know. So let's go through like the ideas when it comes to justifying Odin. I know I talked to Edens. Edens, if you're watching, hello. But Edens, you can also give your theories here if you happen to be watching. But looking at the situation, I know Eden said that this could be an ink clone. I think that is a cool idea. It requires someone still being alive, but whatever. Not a big deal. It could be like really any kind of devil fruit shenanigan, honestly. Devil fruits do this kind of thing all the time. But if I was to give my own personal ideas, you know, a fake of some kind I think is good. It's a good thing that Bon Clay has the face fruit and all that. What else could it be? Unless there's shenanigans going on with Bon Clay's particular fruit, you know, it could be that. This could just be a ghost. I mean, we've had some weird thoughts in the past about Roger's spirit and all that. And then there's the whole thing about Odin's hockey is on that blade. He might be manifesting over here as a ghost, although like you kind of have to justify the swords. My biggest, craziest theory is just Toki developed more aspects of her power, and she could do things other than just send people into the future. Maybe she sent Odin into the future for a small period of time and is going to pull him back. I mean, there's a lot of shenanigans that you could do with a closed loop time travel type thing. You send Odin back, or you send him into the future, then you pull him back so that history is preserved. Although I don't understand why One Piece would go in that direction. The safest thing would be just to say that Odin got sent into the future at the moment that he was in peril. But even then, he doesn't have burns. But then again, is it reasonable to expect someone in One Piece to actually have visible battle damage when it's not important? No, there's a lot of really weird things here that really throw things off. Now, one of the odd things is the swords. And the fan translation showed how the swords look. If Odin actually did come from the past, he would have come in with his two original blades, unless there's a weird time frame. But the blades not being there, that could also point towards it being a ghost or some kind of clone or some kind of doppelganger. It's just a really odd situation. The other thing that's odd is specifically what kind Kawamatsu says, I vaguely remember catching a glimpse of a familiar face, but it had to be a dream. There's just no way it was real. So I was thinking originally that it was Momonosuke's sister, Hiyori, I think her name was, that was patching up the team. But the fact that he's saying there's no way it was real, the no way, that implies it was closer to Toki. Because would he be saying that about his charge? I mean, possibly. I mean, if he's thinking that she wasn't going to be coming here. But then again, what's Hiyori doing in all the situation? No, man, it's kind of I want to believe this is the real Odin and that this is the lurking legend. I want to believe this is him. Interesting choice for him to not. I mean, like, who knows? Who knows what kind of game they're playing at? It's just like, if Toki is actually able to see the future, or is actually able to visit the future for a small moment of time, it would justify her prophecies. It would make her prophecies make a lot more sense. But with Odin here, it's just so annoying. I don't know. I don't know. I want to believe this is actually him, but there's just too much room for tomfoolery. So, you know, in my hardest of hearts, I'm going to say, I hope this is Odin that was sent into the future through some sort of dead man switch. Like, it's a situation where Toki cast a spell on him. It's a devil fruit shenanigan where the moment you're about to die, Odin, you're going to be sent into the future. And then, like, that kind of matches up with her power, because, like, whenever she was in danger, that's when she chose to go into the future. We know that from, like, when they first met, like, her power, she's willing to use it when she was in danger. Like, it's thematically appropriate. And then he just had to, like, try and justify what Kawamatsu is saying about there's no way it was real. Like, Hiyori could probably fit in there, but Toki could also really fit in there. This is aggressive, man. I don't know. This is one heck of a twist here. So I guess my hardest of hearts, I'm believing actually real Odin through time travel shenanigans. Because the thing is, like, Momonosuke really has no place taking over Wano, but Odin could realistically take over Wano if this actually is him. I'm looking at, like, the first little bit of Odin in chapter 961, and current Odin looks a lot more respectable than past Odin. But then again, Odin developed over time. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. Pretty crazy. If I was going for the most cynical thing, it's a doppelganger. It's just someone's copy of it, but it's just so odd still. I do hope that Sanji's going to be going to. I wonder who this means that Sanji's going towards. Because if Odin's already down there with them, there's no real need to. Actually, I don't know. It's maybe Sanji's going to be going towards Momonosuke then, because Sanji maybe would prioritize Momonosuke over the samurai, because the samurai would want that. Yeah, okay. Now, in terms of story, moving away from the Odin stuff, I have no idea what's going on. But in terms of the story, there is a very interesting move that occurs here. And so it's all about the Momonosuke thing. First is Yamato calling Momonosuke an eel. That's really interesting. Like, I'm actually really wondering if the mythical fish fruit turns people into some variation of an eel, and then Kaido was able to hijack it into a dragon. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is just because this whole situation with this devil fruit that Momonosuke ate is interesting. So they're saying Vegapunk used his lineage factor to try and synthesize an artificial devil fruit when they had caught Kaido. Now that's really interesting in that they're using the DNA stuff. So I had to go and look this up again because it's just, and Viz uses a different translation. They call it bloodline elements, but the lineage factor is pretty much DNA. That's how it's premised to us when we see it, when the Vincible are explaining it. And, you know, you don't need to have a devil fruit to have a lineage factor. Now, the lineage factor is used to create SAD. And when you think about the lineage factor in that sense, it makes sense. Like, if you take the DNA of an animal, you can probably shove it in there. It's interesting that the animal develops its own mind frame. Its own mindset. And it's interesting that you need the Tontada to be able to create the fruits and all that. But yes, okay. So the synthetic artificial devil fruit, it has the DNA of an animal, right? when you're looking at the situation, they're saying that they extracted it from Kaido. I know, like, I'm really biased on this one. Like, I still feel that Kaido is a dragon by himself, naturally, without the devil fruit. And I know, that might be kind of stupid to believe. But in this particular sense, like, the thing that it really relies on is whether or not, if you eat a devil fruit, if you eat a Zoan devil fruit, can someone pull out the Zoan DNA out of you? Right? Maybe. I don't know. It depends. Can you pull out the lineage factor that comes from a devil fruit, or can you pull out only the lineage factor that's inside of someone's body? So in one of my interpretations, I'm going to assume that you can only pull out the lineage factor of a body. You can't touch the devil fruit itself properly, right? In that interpretation, then Kaido has dormant dragon DNA that was pulled out and was used to make, well, the whole situation with Momonosuke. It was used to make the Momonosuke fruit. I think that would be okay. I mean, it's because otherwise you can like just find any other mythical Zoan to analyze their lineage factor. I say that, but it's probably really hard to find them. It's really tough. If you can just pull out Zoans, actually, how would that work for Sengoku's Buddha? Because the Buddha is also a Zoan. It's like it's a mythical human fruit. Why didn't they pull out that one? Anyway, it's a really interesting thing. So it's either the lineage factor can be pulled from someone who's eaten a devil fruit, or it can be pulled from someone's natural genetics. I want to believe that Kaido has natural genetics that say that he is a dragon, and just say like, oh yeah, he has the power to turn between two states. Other thing, the minks, their existence is weird. I do wonder if the minks came, or like they pretty much came into being because of just someone with Zoan fruit breeding, right? I wonder. But it's really hard to tell because the lineage factor isn't properly defined. I saw in One Piece Wikia too that they have a interesting note that even though the lineage factor is related to DNA, Big Mom, who has 85 kids, none of them really inherited the soul fruit power. Although, like, I remember there's some really weird dialogue with the Big Mom kids in general when it comes to how they work. I don't know if that dialogue's been corrected ever since then, but that's why I'd be careful. Like, we just don't know. The fact of the matter is we just don't have enough information when it comes to the lineage fruit. The lineage factor. So coming back to this, the important thing in the chapter is that Oda decided to talk about this fruit, which is really interesting. I wonder to what degree Vegapunk could call it a failure beyond Momonosuke being unable to control it. Because like really, being unable to control a Zoan isn't that strange. Even Luffy, when he first started using his devil fruit, couldn't use it that well. So I don't think that's I don't think necessarily that's the bad part of the fruit. Anyway, this guy is thinking that it's fortunate that the experiment was a failure, and I'm just thinking, why? It's just a dragon. What can a dragon really do? I mean, if he's saying that whoever eats that fruit gains Kaido's immortality, then yeah, okay, I can understand why you'd want that to be a failure, because otherwise that'd be a really terrible thing to fight against. But the thing here is that this tries to set Momonosuke up as a force to be reckoned with. And when you look at the situation here, Momonosuke hates being a weak, pathetic fool, right? So this is the setup for this kid having a big pivotal moment. Now, the fact that the other guy is thinking that the experiment was a failure and that's fortunate, maybe it's referring to some kind of game-breaking ability that only dragons have? It's just the structure of this. You have a low for Momonosuke, Yamato calling it an eel, and then you have these guys talking about it's a good thing that the fruit doesn't exist. It's a good thing that Momonosuke doesn't have the fruit, kind of thing. This would reek of setup if we were looking at traditional author. It's just Oda's timeline is hard to predict because the guys go in like really wild with the pacing in general. But it's ultimately very interesting. Anyway, the rest of the chapter was Queen rhetoric about pirates and Chopper gaining a force. He pretty much like God Usopp style. He pretty much just gained a bunch of pleasures and the waiters. Now this is, let's face it, people are stupid. This is why when you have soldiers, you don't tell them flat out that they're useless, right? This is it. Queen, I don't know how Queen got into a leadership position, but like I'm giving him an F for leadership. Then again, Queen's an idiot. Queen has been an idiot for the entirety of One Piece. Anytime I can criticize anything having to do with the Beast Pirates, Queen is in the middle of that criticism. Queen legitimately is just an idiot. Like, this guy isn't thinking about preserving his pieces for the future. He should have been a little bit more careful about that. So he deserved everything he got. And then he's talking about, it's a pirate's job is to be a trader. I feel like we've heard this rhetoric before. I feel like he's also been the same person that said this before, only to be shown off, only to be shown like, hey, no, Luffy's different. So when he's talking about that, it's just like, this is just big setup. It's just so funny that these guys with so much experience, living in a world where Roger existed and living in a world where Shanks existed, and they probably came into conflict with Shanks. Like, these guys, it's just funny that these guys aren't aware of each other's personal spheres in these particular situations. It's funny that they aren't aware of the character that Whitebeard had. The character, and Whitebeard especially, like, Whitebeard treats everyone like family, and this guy's just talking like there aren't any people like Whitebeard around. Especially when it's famously Whitebeard, the man that had multiple pirates coming in to help him just because of the bonds between them. It's really interesting how you have this guy just being a total pleb in how he talks. But then again, the Beast Pirates have been woefully unprepared, especially with Marco and all that. Like, the Beast Pirates are not worthy of respect. Which is also really interesting, because when you look at the color page, or one of the color pages, I think it was last week's color page for One Piece. Let me just very quickly like look at it again. Yeah, when you look at last week's color page for One Piece, like, it's not Queen at the top here. Like, he doesn't get like a big billing. It's Black Maria, Kaido, and whatever other guy that fighting Jinbei is. It's just really interesting how these characters get billed on their color spread, right? But yeah, no. Queen just continues to reveal how much of a pleb he is. I like it, but it's like, bro, you're supposed to be the top of the top. You're able to make viruses, but you're so, I don't know. It's just another thing of, there are many different kind of pirates on the ocean, and you're playing this kind of game. Now, at a later moment, he wonders how exactly Chopper could make a virus against him. And you know what? He probably has very specific knowledge. I would assume maybe, I don't know how Queen learned to make viruses, but he clearly learned to do it somehow. It's just kind of funny again. And when Chopper says that the Straw Hats went all over the place and they honed their crafts, it's like, Chopper, you went to an island of, I know, like, Kuma sent Chopper to the best possible place, because really, it's Kuma. It's not by Chopper's own knowledge that he was able to go hone his skills at the best place. It's Kuma. It's just really funny when he talks about it. And it's also really funny in context. Oh yeah, he went to a really backwards island that only had the luxury of having ancient books or something like that, right? It's a really interesting situation how we have to bring up how exactly these characters are amazing. And it's just interesting how everything goes down with the whole situation here. Still, it's a good moment for Chopper, and I especially love that everyone was calling Chopper Tanuki, because it was really building up for that giant moment where he says he's not a Tanuki. And I'm really happy Monster Point Chopper got a moment here against Queen. Although you have to appreciate how Marco is just kind of going between two. It's interesting how Queen had enough freedom to just go out and be able to, well, how would you say, to just chat up people. It's like, Marco, like, are you doing your job? It's just like, really, when you look at the structure of this whole thing, this is a chaotic situation. Things are just happening because they are. I don't think there's a very clear battle logic anymore in One Piece, because it's just like, oh, hey, Marco just showed up again to hold this guy in place. And then when you look at other things, even though the samurai are outnumbered, logically you'd expect them to not have that much opportunity, but the samurai are significantly outnumbered, but they have the time to still be totally exposed with their blades out, while one of the Yakuza bosses is off crying, turning her eyes away from the battlefield. That's the kind of battle we're at here. Numbers don't matter in One Piece. Like, we've known this for a very long time, but it's always so fun to be reminded of that, yes, in One Piece, when you are outnumbered by orders of greater than 4,000, yes, you can actually turn around and cover your eyes and have a moment to cry to yourself. That is totally legal in One Piece. It's just interesting, right? Like, ultimately, the reason why everything is just so wonky with the battle logic is because One Piece is going at an accelerated pace. It needs to get its main points out, and it needs to be able to keep going faster. And we know that Oda's been turning up the pace for a very long time, but it's just very interesting to see where these problems are coming. Because like the reality is, if I was reviewing One Piece at the same level of criticism that I reviewed like Shokugeki no Soma, this would not. I think I'd be a lot meaner. But at the same time, it's like I know Oda's style in this particular sense. He wants to get through this. I'm happy though that Chopper got a moment. Like, I don't need Chopper to have a great fight here. I just need him to have a moment. And honestly, this was a lot more than I was expecting. That the bitch slap was awesome, legitimately, and everyone's reaction to it was also pretty great. So that's a good thing. Overall, for One Piece chapter 1007, there's a lot of interesting things going on. Chopper gets a great moment. Queen continues to be a pleb. And Odin shows up. So guys, let me know what you thought down below. I know this one's a bit more rambly, but I'm letting you guys know how I feel about this whole situation. Thank you so much for watching, and till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.